Hi there, it's another Monday morning and I am still trying to wake up. I've got my therapy dog in tow as she watches me and she's like, Mom, what the heck are you doing right now? But we are doing some therapy videos where we're helping people learn a little bit about different therapy topics. Okay, cool. I'm glad you're on board. Today, what's kind of been on my heart and mind is grief and loss. We've had some grief and loss in our community, and unfortunately, due to physical death and people being hospitalized that are important community members, and it's been on my heart to kind of share, what not to say to somebody when they're going through grief and loss, and maybe what to say, even though, honestly, there are no words. There are no words that heal or can make grief feel any less painful. I do think we can say things that can make it more painful, but unfortunately none of us can really take away the pain of grief, and it's one of the hardest emotions for us to feel as humans. But one of the kind of bittersweet things that I think about is, if you've grieved, it also means you've loved. And so as much pain as we're having in our hearts right now as a community and to those people and those families, because I personally don't know this person very well, but I know a lot of my close friends did, that means you love them. And that's such a beautiful thing. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of share briefly what not to say, because I think it gets kind of awkward when you're talking to somebody about grief at times, and we can at times say things that are not super helpful. So number one, don't tell them that you know what they're going through, because even if you've had a similar loss or death or breakup or job loss, everybody's experience is different. And weirdly, I think it's meant to be inclusive and help that person feel related to, but at times it can just feel like it's invalidating to their grief. And so don't make it about another grief or loss you had. Just say, I'm so sorry, and I'm just here with you. The other thing to say or not to say is don't tell them that their loved one is in a better place. I know that spiritually, a lot of us believe that is the case, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it's a wonderful and beautiful thing that we should honor within ourselves. But for other people, it's not always helpful for them to hear that, because, again, it may feel like you're kind of invalidating the fact that they're grieving this person right now and that they're in a lot of pain. And the last thing they want is really to lose that person or to think about that person being in a different place, even if it is a better place. The other thing is not everybody believes that there's a better place. And then that gets, kind of weird or awkward. And these are times when people have to grapple with their spirituality. And so it's maybe not the best time to say that if they're just like in the fresh, throes of grief, because it's not always healing or helpful for people to hear that. And yeah, again, it can make them feel like, oh, I can't really cry or grieve about this because I'm supposed to know that my loved one's in a better space, even if they do believe that. So we all get to grieve, even if we're spiritually in line with that. Like, you still get to go through all the phases, and it doesn't look similar for any person. It's going to be different, but yeah, I've heard that that's another one that people really don't like. The other thing is, this kind of sounds kind of funny, but don't ask them what they need from you. Don't say, hey, how can I help you? Because typically when someone's in the depths of grief, they're overwhelmed and they're not really thinking or knowing about what they need maybe in that moment, but it might come in waves to them. So instead of framing it like, hey, what can I do to help? You could say, hey, when you need help, I'm here for you. Or, hey, our family's going to bring you meals. Let us know if you want us to not. Or just kind of offer, hey, we're here when you're ready and willing and able to let us know what you need and support from us. Because, again, every person is different. And sometimes if they're in they just are hit with it, they're so emotionally overwhelmed that they can't always answer that question. And so I think it's helpful to just be like, hey, when you're ready, we're here and we're willing to help you in any way that you need it. And the other thing is, I think the most important part is that we're just able to sit and be with that person, and that can be incredibly hard, because in so much as we are able to sit with ourselves and that emotion, so in this case, grief, in so much that we can sit with ourselves in grief, we have the ability to sit with other people in grief. And it can be really hard. But I think what I've been taught through my clinical experience and even in my grief and loss course was to just be with that person and let them talk. Let them share stories with you, even if they tell you the same story time and time again, because that's part of their grief process. Let them do the talking, let them do the crying. Just be in the space with them. And then also make sure you're taking care of yourself, because there is such a thing as secondary grief. So you may need to seek some extra therapy or extra loving from some of your friends that aren't involved, so that you can process how it's impacting you too. Because I know for me, if I see my close loved ones and like my parents really in a bad space, that impacts me too. And I feel sadness because of their grief and, me wanting them to be in a good space. So make sure you're doing self-care too if it is a close loved one of yours that's grieving. And I hope that was helpful. If you have any other questions about it, I'd be happy to answer it. And hope you guys have an awesome day.